Okay, viewers, so over 11 years ago, our next guest took the leap and moved to France to teach English, study, and pursue her dreams. While there, she stumbled into a new area and passion, social media marketing and Facebook research. Since then, she has been actively teaching digital transformation and its advantages, and she is here to share her journey and some tips with us. Let's welcome social media strategist, writer, and educator, Hanifa Patterson. Good morning.
Hi, good morning.
So good to have you. So since last year, when COVID hit our shores in Jamaica, we've seen all this talk about upskilling and, people trying to pivot. Now, you would have done this a couple of years back because social media marketing wasn't even popular back then. So tell us, why is it that you drew a liking towards it and how that has been over the years?
Okay, well, thank you for having me, first of all. So what happened, I was actually living in France, and I found out school there was very cheap. So I decided to move forward with that to do my master's degrees in communications. And before that, while living there, I was teaching. So I was seeing that students were coming to the classes and they were not as focused anymore. They were not impressed with just PowerPoint. And so I was like, this is a new thing, right? I'd like to get into this. And my director was not interested. He told me it was a stupid idea. And so I decided to focus a little bit more, to push ahead. And I decided to focus on social media and how it would grow businesses. So I took my focus off the educational aspects and started to look at the business. It was affecting relationships. It was affecting how we could communicate. When I just moved there, I still had dial-up and using Skype. But now I could speak to my family that I hadn't met before and friends I hadn't seen before. So I could see that this was clearly going to change the future in some way. And I'm kind of a futurist. I'm always thinking ahead, like, what will this mean for us?
All right. So the liking came and you forged ahead with it. Do you think social media is now easier for people to gravitate towards and just learn and maneuver around?
Pardon? I didn't hear quite.
Is it easy for people to, use the various platforms, or you think it still needs a manual?
Okay, that's a great question. I think many people are still not quite clear of the potential that social media and just online marketing, online world has right now. We are moving, we've been forced to move forward in terms of with,
We seem to be having a little bit of a technical glitch there, but yeah, social media is a very big game changer, especially in the time of COVID. We're even seeing companies transform and beef up their networking.
Instagram.
So I think we do have Hanifa back. Hanifa, I just want you to go.
And if you're going to go in a professional direction, if you're not into just connecting with families and be fasting in people's business, as you would say, then definitely, for example, something like LinkedIn would be better for you. And there's some people who can manage all of them, and so they can go ahead with them all.
All right, so you were just listing out a couple of the major social media platforms.
The major platforms.
So just to recap, you said LinkedIn. Which other ones?
Well, you have LinkedIn if you want to go professional, right? And Instagram, which is great. Instagram, TikTok, these are great ways to reach your client. If you have a product, for example, if you're selling something that they have a good feedback there, and they also have a younger demographic. LinkedIn has an older demographic, Facebook also. However, on Facebook, to run the ads that we see online, you need to have a Facebook account. And Instagram, WhatsApp, they're all a part of the Facebook family. Right.
So if anybody were to start from today, those would be some of the platforms that they should look to get on and start familiarizing themselves. If you could help to give us some tips, because people have a struggle with social media. So let's say if it's just about their personal image, if you could give me 2 solid tips that persons can take away from this interview, and then 2 solid tips for a business to take away from this interview, what would they be?
Okay, well, now we are a brand. We are representing ourselves online. The online world is just as real right now as the everyday world, right? So one thing I'll recommend is that people should really be careful online, as in, how you put yourself out there. You're going to represent yourself well because this helps you to connect with others. However, you also have to bear in mind that people are going to be watching you. So, for example, in a presentation I did, we discovered that most hiring managers, about 47% of hiring managers, they check your social media before they hire you. And many people may not be aware of that. And they also check your social media when you have been hired. And they're not just looking at if you're drinking or doing something crazy. They want to see if your values are in line with their brand values, if you're fun, if you're creative, if you're a good writer. There's so much they can tell from your social media. So I would want to advise, especially younger folks, or if you're job hunting, look out for that, right?
Clean up the pages from now.
Right, exactly. Clean up your pages. And guess what? Don't just delete your pages, because some hiring managers have suggested that they have declined to hire someone because they did not have an online presence. Why? Because to them, you're hiding something. And two, that suggests that you're not really ready for the future, because the future is you have to be online. So that's one tip I give to people, general, personal level. On another level, I'd also, for businesses, I'm going to skip to businesses.
No problem.
I'd like to suggest that digital transformation is not just about getting new devices. It's also about training your staff in how to use these new devices and new applications and, all of this, because some people may not be aware of this. Right. It's also teaching them how now to manage sensitive data, because they will be doing that now. And it's also about them maintaining their personal brand as well, because they're now representing your company in a very direct way through all these Zoom meetings, and people may connect, so they will see your personal pages. So you need to make sure it's, as I said, cleaned up. And even policy, implementing policies to guide individuals on how to use, for example, social media well to represent the company. And one last thing that I think is really important is that when you're online, know that we're moving forward in terms of digitally, is that to make sure that your pages are together. I've been online now trying to do business at times, and the number on the website is incorrect. It's a different number on Facebook, a different number on the website. It has a different address. The director of the board has changed, but it's the old director that's on the page. This is a part of updating ourselves to be ready for the digital future, to represent ourselves well, but correctly, right? Yes. And the last thing I'd like to say for people now, those general individuals, is, that, we talked about importance about the personal brand, right. But that's a great opportunity now to start a business online, to put yourself out there, to do something new. For instance, the role of digital marketing, it's on the top 10 list according to LinkedIn of jobs that are needed, and nobody would know that. So skill up. Use opportunities, skill up right now. Though it's a global village, it's your chance to tap outside of Jamaica. We all speak English very well generally. Improve your English if you don't speak it well, and think outside of the box right now, because there are lots of opportunities thanks to the digital space in general. I won't even limit it to social media.
Well, those are some lovely tips, and I'm sure our viewers are taking notes and going to action same. You did mention that you consider yourself a futurist. So 11 years ago, you were pretty much ahead of the curve. What are some of the, if you can tell us now, what are some of the things you're anticipating over the next 10 years?
Wow, that's a great question. Well, one thing that I wrote about it, I believe, a year ago when Corona came in, or a little before, is that AI is future, right? Artificial intelligence. So already when I visit France, many supermarkets, it's all, you're the teller on your own. Banks, there are no teller, there are like one teller in the bank. So there are many skills that are gonna become obsolete. However, there are other skills that are premium that computers can't do well. And one, for example, is creativity. So although AI has created, there's a robot that has done a painting, but the fact is human creativity is, I believe, in the future will become a prime. And so, for example, Jamaica, that culture is one of our greatest commodities. We need to tap into that now. We need to start producing, teaching people how to produce music, teaching people how to have our vibe, or teaching people or letting people know, come here for this, because the future is computers are going to be in charge of everything. And so you need to have skills that you cannot be programmed out of, right? And the final thing with that is that we've seen Heart NSTA is moving towards programming. This is great. Yeah. So you need to learn how to program these robots.
All right, listen, you just gave us a whole lot. I'm even writing down that very last point about creativity being a premium, and especially for Jamaicans. We saw an article where, you know, Sesame Street is looking for animators from Jamaica. So listen, it's all coming together. We look forward to more of your writing and your sessions. If I want to follow you on social media, where do I go? Okay, you can check me on It's Hanifa. So ITSHANNIFFA. And I also have a business page, so you can go across to that as well. And definitely follow me on LinkedIn, Hanifa Patterson. You can check me out there. All right. Well, it's always a pleasure to speak to people who know exactly, you know, who have the expertise in their industry. We will talk soon.